My wife abandoned our 5-year-old daughter to find herself and stole $15,000. Months later, she came back crying because she got scammed. But I had already discovered her multiple affairs, and what I did left everyone speechless. I'm 34 years old, work in logistics for a distribution company, and what happened 6 months ago basically split me in two. Like, literally changed my life overnight in a way I never imagined possible. I'm telling this story now because I finally feel like I can breathe again, and because I need to get it all out, you know, process this craziness that was my life for half a year. I guess I should start at the beginning, when everything seemed normal, or at least that's what I thought. Jennifer and I got married 7 years ago. I met her in college when we were both in our 20s, and everything was simpler, easier to understand. We fell in love pretty fast. One of those relationships that starts with instant chemistry and conversations until 3 in the morning. And to be honest, the first years were good. I mean, we had our problems like any couple, but nothing that made me think something was really wrong. Lily was born when Jennifer was 27, and I was 29. And I remember perfectly the day she was born, because Jennifer squeezed my hand so hard, I thought she was going to break my fingers. But when she saw our daughter for the first time, she started crying with happiness, and I did too. I'm not going to lie, it was one of those moments you think you'll remember forever as perfect. The first years with Lily were intense. You know how it is having a baby? We didn't sleep well. We were always tired. We argued about stupid things like who had changed the last diaper, or who was getting up at 3 in the morning when Lily cried. But I thought it was normal, that all couples went through that. Jennifer worked part-time as a freelance graphic designer from home, and I had a more or less regular schedule at the logistics company, so we tried to take turns with Lily as best we could. Looking back, I think I started noticing changes in Jennifer about a year ago, maybe a little more, but they were so subtle that I didn't pay attention to them at the time. She started spending more time on her phone, like obsessively checking messages even when we were having dinner or watching a movie. And when I asked her what she was doing, she told me it was clients or Facebook mom groups, things that sounded totally reasonable, you know what I mean. She also started going out more often, which at first seemed fine to me because I thought she needed time for herself after being so focused on being a mom for so long. You know, everyone needs their space. She told me she was going for coffee with Rebecca, her best friend from college, or that she had meetings with potential clients. And I, like an idiot, believed everything because why wouldn't I believe her? She was my wife, my daughter's mother, the person I had built a life with. But the thing is, she started coming home later, like 11 at night or even midnight, and when I asked her, she gave me vague answers like they had stayed chatting longer than planned or that traffic was horrible, and I accepted those explanations because I had no reason not to. I guess what happened next was completely unexpected. Like not even in my worst nightmares would I have imagined something like this. It was a normal Tuesday. I remember it was Tuesday because Tuesdays I always leave work early, like at 4 in the afternoon. So, I got home expecting to find Jennifer and Lily watching cartoons or playing in the living room, like always. But when I opened the door, the house was silent, a weird silence that immediately made me nervous. You know that feeling when something is wrong, but you still don't know what? I called Jennifer, then I called Lily, and nothing. Nobody answered. Jennifer's car wasn't in the driveway. But that wasn't weird because sometimes she went out with Lily to the park or the supermarket. Then I saw the envelope on the kitchen table, a normal white envelope with my name written in Jennifer's handwriting, and my heart started beating faster because who leaves envelopes with names written on them on the kitchen table? I opened the envelope with trembling hands, literally trembling, and inside was a short note, like half a page handwritten. The note said, "Marcus, I need time for myself. I've left Lily with your parents. She's fine. Don't try to contact me. I'll write to you when I'm ready. Jennifer." That was it. Not an I love you. Not a real explanation. Not even an apology. Just those cold and direct lines that basically said she had abandoned our family without looking back. I stood there in the kitchen reading that note like 10 times trying to understand what it meant, because it didn't make sense. It just didn't make any damn sense. Time for herself? Since when did she need time for herself so urgently that she had to abandon her 5-year-old daughter? I called my parents immediately. Like I dialed the number so fast, I messed up twice before getting it right. And my mom answered with that voice, "You know when something is wrong." She confirmed that Jennifer had arrived that morning with Lily, had told her she had an emergency, and if they could take care of her for a few days, and before my mom could ask more questions, Jennifer had already left. My mom asked me what was happening, and I honestly didn't know what to tell her because I didn't understand it myself. So I just told her I was heading there to pick up Lily, and we'd talk later. I drove to my parents' house on autopilot. I don't even remember how I got there because my mind was in 1,000 places at once, trying to process what had just happened. When I arrived, Lily was playing with some blocks in the living room, completely oblivious to the fact that her mother had basically abandoned her. And when she saw me, she ran towards me yelling "Daddy" and hugged my legs like she always did. I picked her up and squeezed her tight, probably too tight, while trying not to cry in front of her because I didn't want to scare her. My dad took me aside and asked me directly what was going on with Jennifer, and I showed him the note. I saw how his expression changed from concern to anger, that kind of quiet anger that's worse than yelling, and he told me to stay with them that night while I processed everything. That night, Lily asked about her mom before going to sleep. She asked me where Mommy was and when she was coming back, and I had to make up something about Mommy having to travel for work and she'd be back soon. Because what else was I going to tell a 5-year-old girl? I put her to bed and read her favorite story, the one about the princess who finds a friendly dragon, and when she finally fell asleep, I went to the living room and sat on the couch with my parents, not knowing what to do. My mom suggested that maybe Jennifer was going through something, like late postpartum depression or something like that, and that she'd probably come back soon when she calmed down. I wanted to believe that. I really wanted to believe it, but something inside me told me this was deeper, more serious. I spent the next few days trying to contact Jennifer. I sent her like 50 messages, called her like 100 times, wrote her emails, everything, but nothing, not a single response. Her messages showed as delivered, but she never read them, or at least that's what WhatsApp said. I called Rebecca, her best friend, and she was as confused as I was. She told me she didn't know anything about Jennifer planning to leave, and that they hadn't talked in weeks because Jennifer had been distant lately. I also called Jennifer's parents, but they didn't know anything either, and they actually got angry at me thinking I had done something to make their daughter leave. Which was horrible because I was the victim here, not the villain. A week after Jennifer's abandonment, I decided to check our finances because I needed to know if at least we had money to support Lily and pay the bills. I opened the savings account we shared, the one we had for emergencies and for Lily's future, and I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach when I saw the balance. Jennifer had withdrawn $15,000, like almost everything we had saved except like $2,000 that were left there, and she had done it 2 days before leaving. $15,000 that we had saved for years, working hard, sacrificing vacations and luxuries, and she just took it without saying anything. I got furious, literally felt a rage I had never felt before, because this wasn't just abandoning us anymore. It was theft. It was betrayal at the lowest possible level. My brother Daniel came to visit me that day. He's 2 years younger than me and has always been the practical one in the family, the one who thinks with a cool head even in crises. I told him everything, and he said I needed to start documenting everything. Save Jennifer's note, the bank records, everything. Because this would probably end in divorce, and I needed to protect myself legally and financially. He suggested I hire a lawyer, and although the idea of getting divorced was still surreal, I knew he was right. Daniel helped me look for divorce lawyers and make a list of everything I needed to do, like change passwords, protect the rest of the money, establish a plan to take care of Lily, and all those practical things you don't want to think about but are necessary. About 3 weeks passed without any news from Jennifer, 3 weeks in which Lily asked about her mom every day, and I had to keep making up excuses about long work trips and bad phone signal. I was at work one day checking emails when Daniel sent me a text message that said, "Bro, check Jennifer's Instagram now." My heart started beating fast because I knew that whatever Daniel had seen wasn't going to be good. I opened Instagram on my phone, searched for Jennifer's profile, which was still public, and there it was, a new photo posted that same day. In the photo, Jennifer was at a beach, wearing a new bikini I had never seen, smiling at the camera with sunglasses, like without a care in the world, and the caption said, "Finally feeling free." Finally feeling free? I read those words like 10 times, trying to process the cruelty of them. My wife, my daughter's mother, had abandoned her family, stolen our savings, and now was posting beach photos saying she felt free as if it was something to celebrate. The comments on the photo were from people we didn't know well, like casual friends and work acquaintances, saying things like, "You look amazing, and you deserve it." People who clearly had no idea that Jennifer had left a 5-year-old girl asking for her mom every night. I took a screenshot of the photo. I don't know why exactly. Maybe because my lawyer had told me to document everything, or maybe because I needed proof that this was real and not a nightmare I was going to wake up from. That night, after putting Lily to bed, I poured myself a whiskey. Something I almost never do because I'm not much of a drinker, but I needed something to calm the nerves and anxiety I felt all the time since Jennifer left. I sat on the living room couch, the same living room where we had watched movies together, where we had played with Lily, and I wondered at what point everything went to hell. Were there more obvious signs I didn't see? Was I a bad husband? Did I do something that pushed her to this? Daniel had told me to stop blaming myself, that Jennifer's actions were Jennifer's responsibility, but it's hard not to question everything when the person you trusted most betrays you like that. What happened next was even more disturbing, if that was possible. Like 2 weeks after seeing the beach photo, I was at home checking emails on my laptop when I remembered that Jennifer and I shared some passwords, like things we had set up years ago when we were more trusting or more naive. I don't know. Her Gmail account, for example, had the password saved in my browser from like 3 years ago when she asked me to help her send some large files. I had never used it to spy on her because, trust and respect for privacy and all that. But at this point, I felt I deserved answers. I debated with myself for like half an hour about whether I should do it, if it was right or moral or whatever. But finally I thought, she abandoned our daughter and stole our savings, basically lost any right to privacy when she did that. I opened her Gmail, and the first thing I saw were notifications from dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, all of those. My stomach turned because this confirmed something I think I knew deep down but didn't want to admit. That Jennifer hadn't left to find herself or deal with depression. She had left because she was actively looking for other men. I started checking the most recent emails and found messages from these apps, confirming matches and conversations. Some of the messages were from before she left, like from 2 or 3 months ago, which meant this had been planned, that she had been cheating on me while I worked and took care of our daughter without knowing anything. But wait, it still gets worse. Because then I found an email from Google Photos about a shared album, and when I clicked on the link, it took me to an album with like 50 photos that Jennifer had shared with someone whose email I didn't recognize. The photos were of Jennifer with different men, in restaurants, in bars, in what looked like a hotel room, all taken in recent months. In some of the photos, she was wearing clothes I recognized, clothes she had supposedly put on to go out with Rebecca or for work meetings, and now I was seeing photographic proof that she had been lying all this time. There was one particular photo that destroyed me, where Jennifer was sitting on some guy's lap at what looked like a party, kissing him while he had his hand on her waist, and she looked happy, like genuinely happy in a way I hadn't seen her with me in years. I don't remember much of the rest of that night, except that I called Daniel, crying. And I'm not one to cry easily, but this was too much. It was too much betrayal. Too much evidence that my marriage had been a lie, probably for months, or maybe years. Daniel came immediately, stayed with me that night while I processed everything, and reminded me that I needed to think about Lily, that she was the priority now, and that I needed to stay strong for her. He was right, but, God, it was so hard to keep my composure when I felt like my entire life was falling apart. The next day, I went to see the lawyer Daniel had recommended to me. A man about 50 years old named Robert, who specialized in complicated divorce cases. I showed him everything: the note, the bank records, the Instagram screenshots, the emails, the photos, everything. Robert reviewed everything meticulously while taking notes. And when he finished, he looked at me and told me I had a very strong case for divorce and for obtaining full custody of Lily. He explained that the documented abandonment, the theft of joint funds, and the evidence of multiple infidelities put me in a very favorable legal position. He also told me I needed to officially serve Jennifer with divorce papers, but that was the problem. We didn't know where she was physically to be able to deliver the documents to her. Robert suggested we hire a private investigator to locate Jennifer. And although that sounded kind of dramatic or exaggerated, I agreed because I needed to move forward with my life and protect Lily. The investigator, a guy named Mike who looked exactly like you'd expect a private investigator to look like 50-ish with a beard, told me that with the information we had from social media and emails, he could probably find her in less than a week. And sure enough, 4 days later, Mike called me to tell me he had located Jennifer living in an apartment in the city, about an hour from our house, sharing the place with one of her friends from the dating apps, apparently someone she had met on Bumble. The months passed, October came and went, November started, and I was in total survival mode, working, taking care of Lily with help from my parents. Seeing the therapist, Daniel had insisted. I see, because according to him, I had PTSD from this situation. And he was probably right. Lily had started asking less about her mom, which broke my heart because it meant she was getting used to her absence. But it was also a relief because at least she wasn't constantly being reminded that her mother had abandoned her. We had established a routine. I took her to kindergarten every morning. My parents picked her up. I left work early to be with her in the afternoons, and on weekends we did simple things like go to the park or watch movies. Then Thanksgiving came, and my mom has always organized a family dinner at her house. We were all there, my parents, Daniel, some aunts and uncles and cousins Lily was playing with, my nephews in the living room while the adults prepared the food and set the table. I was in the kitchen helping my mom with the turkey when we heard the doorbell. My dad went to open it, and then we heard her voice, Jennifer's voice, saying something about wanting to see her family on Thanksgiving. My heart stopped. Literally, I felt it stop beating for a second, because I couldn't believe the audacity of this woman to show up like that without warning after months of total silence. I went to the living room and there was Jennifer, standing in the entrance with a new coat I didn't recognize, her hair different like with blonde highlights, looking like she had just come out of a photo shoot. Lily saw her and ran towards her yelling "Mommy," and Jennifer picked her up and hugged her while Lily cried with happiness at seeing her mother after so long. I stood there, not knowing what to do, because on one hand I wanted to yell at her and throw her out of my parents' house, but on the other hand Lily was clearly happy to see her, and I didn't want to ruin that for my daughter. Jennifer looked at me over Lily's head and smiled at me as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't abandoned us, as if the last months hadn't happened. And she said to me, "Hi, Marcus. Happy Thanksgiving." The dinner was uncomfortable as hell. Jennifer sat at the table as if nothing, ate turkey, made small talk about the weather and the Christmas decorations that were already starting to appear in stores, asked how Lily was doing in school, like she acted as if it were a normal family gathering. Nobody knew how to react. My parents were clearly angry, but tried to keep their composure for Lily. Daniel looked at me with an expression of what the hell is happening, and I was sitting there in silence trying not to explode. After dinner, Jennifer played with Lily for a while, took photos of her, promised her they would spend more time together soon, and then she left, as casually as she had arrived. She didn't give me explanations, didn't apologize, didn't mention anything about the money or the divorce papers that had already been served to her by the investigator. She just left. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I had a kind of nervous breakdown. I called my therapist in panic, and we had an emergency phone session where basically she told me that what Jennifer had done was a form of manipulation, showing up on an important family day, using Lily as an emotional shield, acting like everything was normal to confuse me and make me question my decision to get divorced. My therapist reminded me of all the horrible things Jennifer had done, the abandonment, the theft, the cheating, and told me I couldn't let one appearance on Thanksgiving make me forget all that. She was right, but it was so hard to keep mental clarity when I had seen Lily so happy to see her mom, because at the end of the day, I wanted Lily to have a present mother, even if that mother was Jennifer. Weeks passed and Jennifer didn't try to contact me again, until one night, like at the end of November, I received a text message from her number that said, "I need to talk to you. It's important. Can we meet somewhere public like a coffee shop?" I thought about ignoring it. I really considered just blocking her number and moving on. But curiosity got the better of me, and maybe a small part of me still wanted answers. I replied that we could meet at a Starbucks near my work the next day during my lunch hour, a public place where she couldn't make a scene or manipulate me too much. I arrived at Starbucks and Jennifer was already there, sitting at a table in the back with a coffee in her hand, still looking different from the Jennifer I knew, more put together but also more tired somehow. I sat across from her and waited for her to speak. I wasn't going to make this easy for her. Jennifer started with, "I'm sorry, I know what I did was wrong, but I needed to find myself. I needed to know who I was outside of being a wife and mother." I let her talk without interrupting, just looked at her while she recited what sounded like a rehearsed speech about needing space and freedom and personal discovery. All those cliché phrases people use when what they really did was think only about themselves. Then Jennifer changed the subject and started crying. Told me she had made a terrible mistake. That one of the men she had been seeing turned out to be a scammer who had taken money from her. Basically, that she had lost most of the $15,000 she stole from our savings account. She told me this guy had promised to invest the money in a business that would give her incredible returns, and she had given him like $10,000 trusting him, and it turns out the guy disappeared with the money and blocked all her contacts. I sat there unable to believe what I was hearing. Because seriously, did she expect me to feel sorry for her? Did she expect me to sympathize because she got scammed? After she robbed me first? Jennifer continued talking. Told me she was sorry about everything, that she had been selfish and stupid, that she missed Lily horribly, and then came the part I knew was coming. She asked me if she could come back home temporarily, just until she recovered financially and emotionally. That she would sleep on the couch and didn't expect things to go back to how they were before, but that she needed a safe place to stay. I looked into her eyes and searched for some genuine remorse, something that would make me think maybe she had changed. But all I saw was selfish desperation, a woman who had burned all her bridges and was now looking for a convenient lifeline. I told her no. Like just that simple. Just no. I told her she had abandoned our daughter, that she had stolen our savings, that she had cheated on me with multiple men, that she had shown up on Thanksgiving without warning just to use Lily as an emotional tool, and that now she expected me to rescue her from the consequences of her own horrible decisions. I told her the divorce papers were already in process, that I was seeking full custody of Lily with only supervised visits for her if the judge allowed it, and that never would I let her back into our house or our lives that way. Jennifer started crying harder, begged me to reconsider, told me she had learned her lesson, but I had already made my decision. I got up from the table, left $5 to pay for my coffee, even though I hadn't even touched it, and told her that any future communication about Lily had to be through our lawyers. Jennifer called out to me as I walked away, yelled at me that I was selfish, that someday I was going to regret this, that I was being cruel and vindictive. But I kept walking without turning around. I left Starbucks and breathed the cold November air. And you know what? I felt good, like really good, because for the first time in months, I felt like I had control over my life again. The divorce was finalized about 2 months later, in January of this year. Jennifer didn't fight much for custody after the judge saw all the evidence of abandonment and theft, so I got full custody of Lily with Jennifer having only supervised visits every 2 weeks. Jennifer ended up moving to another state with some distant relative. I'm not sure exactly where because honestly, I don't care. Lily asks about her from time to time, and I tell her the truth. Adapted to her age, that mommy has some problems she needs to work through, but that she will always love her. I don't know if Jennifer really loves her, or if she only cared when it was convenient for her, but that's not my problem anymore. Last week, Lily asked me if mommy was ever coming back to live with us. I told her the truth, that I didn't know but probably not. She thought for a moment. That way kids process serious information. And then she told me, "It's okay, Daddy. I'm good here with you and Grandma and Grandpa." She hugged me and kept playing with her dolls like nothing happened, and I stayed there feeling a mix of sadness for everything I had lost, but also gratitude for what I still had. I guess that's enough for now.